जय गुरुदेव। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः। गुरुः साक्षात् परम ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। We are studying the foundation course of Vastu. We have seen the fourth lecture, and in the last lecture, in the fourth lecture, we have tried to see that Sthapatya Ved consists of two parts: inner glorification and outer glorification. Inner glorification is level of consciousness. So to become an asthapati, one should achieve the level of consciousness called witness. This is the minimum level to become a good architect or good asthapati. Outer glorification is Vastu Shastra. So in outer glorification, there are different texts available like Agni Puran, Matsya Puran, Mansar, Mayamata, Samrangan Sutradhar, विश्वकर्म वास्तु शास्त्र, विश्वकर्म प्रकाश, मनुष्यालय चंद्रिका, राजवल्लभ, different Puranas, Agama, Kashyap Shilp, etc. etc. More than 300 or 400. In other context, in other sense, we can say more than 2,500 texts are available related with Vastu. When I say 200, 300, that means these texts are entirely on Vastu, like Mansar, Mayamata, Samrangan, Sutradhar, Vishwakarma, Prakash, etc. When I say 2,500, more than 2,500, that means Vastu is described also in Agni Purana, Matsya Purana, different Puranas and other texts. So more than 2,500 texts are available on Vastu. These are called Vastu. Let us see some of the text. Let us see content of some of the text, like Manasara. Manasara text is written by Mansar Rishi. The text contains 70 chapters. 40 chapters deals with construction, structure. Other chapter deals with the iconography, temple architecture. Mansar text contains 70 chapter, 5,200 sloka. Right from the site selection up to the completion of the temple, Nayanonmilan, Prana Pratishtha, everything is described in the text. Related with residential, temple architecture, fort, town planning, etc. So Mansar is a very elaborative subject. Vastu is described in details. Mana means measurement. Sar means essence. So a text in which dimensions or measurement is described of town, of house, of building, of length and width and furniture, door, windows, etc. Their dimensions are described. Their length and width and height and ratio and proportions are described. Measurement is described in Manasara. There is another text known as Mayamata. Mayamata has 36 chapters. Maya is an architect. And mata means opinion. So opinion of Maya on architecture is known as Mayamata. Mayamata has 36 chapters and approximately 3,300 shlokas. Different Puranas are there, like Agni Puran, Matsya Puran, Bhavishya Puran, Garud Puran. Apart from other subjects like astrology, etc., Vastu is also described in Puranas in detail. There is a text known as Samrangan Sutradhara. The text was written in 10th, 11th century by the king Raja Bhojadeva of Dharanagri. This Samrangan Sutradhar has 84 chapters and more than 8,000 number of shlokas. It deals with every dimension of Vastu. Different styles, site selection, soil testing, every dimension, types of land, every dimension is described in details in Samrangan Sutradhara. If someone wants to become an expert in Vastu, then he should have a mastery over the Samrangan Sutradhara. He should study the Samrangan Sutradhara. Samrangan Sutradhara deals with the defects of Vastu, their consequences, and their remedial part too. So everything is described right from the construction to the solution is described in Samrangan Sutradhara. Rajvallabh is a very famous text. Sutradhar Mandan had written a number of texts on Vastu. One of them is Rajvallabh. He has also written the Prasad Mandan, Rupa Mandan. Rajvallabh text deals with the dwelling, human dwelling. This book contained 14 chapters, and in nutshell, in a compiled form, every dimension of Vastu is described in this text. It deals with the different types of houses, Ekshala, Dvishala, Trishala, Chatushala, in details. Another very famous text is Vishwa Karma Prakasha. This Vishwa Karma Prakasha is distributed among the Vishwakarma society in certain part of Rajasthan on auspicious occasion like marriage, etc. This is freely distributed among Vishwakarma's families. The Vishwakarma Prakash has 13 chapters, 1,374 number of shlokas, and every dimension of Vastu is described in nutshell. When I say described in nutshell, means for every dimension the hint is given, and like in the compressed form, the things are given in the text. It is like Gagar mein Sagar, ocean in a container. In this book, Vishwakarma Prakasha, different shapes and their effects are also described. So, these are a few number of texts related with the Vastu. Let us see what is written in these texts, the content of of a book. So for that purpose, I am taking what is written in Mayamata. Mayamata. While we study the content of a book, try to focus on the scope of the subject, the area of Vastu. Because nowadays, people think about, due to certain reason, that planning is Vastu. The placement is Vastu. And whatever we hear from different sources, through media, through TV, through print, that in this direction this room should be made. But when you study any of the text, like Mansara, Mayamata, Samrangana Sutra, Dhara, etc., you will find, depending of the orientation of the house, placement is described. Say for example, if the house is north facing, then it is preferable to make entrance or drawing room either in the front or in the left or on the right side, not on the rear side. Similarly, if the house is south facing, then the drawing room is to be made either in the south or in the southeast or in the southwest. One can say either on the southern side or eastern side or western side, but not in the northern side. What I want to say is that planning is based upon the orientation of the house, orientation of the building, orientation of the plot. And planning is a part of Vastu. Planning is a limb of Vastu, Anga. Planning doesn't mean that it is the whole Vastu. Because when you study any of the texts, you will find, suppose, you will find that only a few chapters deals with the planning. Rest is also Vastu. If you study Manasara, then out of 5,200 number of shloka, only 500 are related with the planning, with the placement. Rest 4,700 shlokas are deals with other subject, other topics, not planning. And these shlokas are also Vastu. If you study Mayamata, then out of 3,300 number of shloka, only 300 are related with the planning. Rest 90% is also Vastu, but not the planning. It may be related with the site selection, with the soil testing, with the building material, with the length and width ratio, with the door location, and other things. So all these 90% is also Vastu. What I want to say, that planning is a part of Vastu. So let us see the content of Mayamata. Mayamata has 36 chapters. The first chapter is called Summary or Sangraha. In this chapter, in the first chapter, the title of other 35 chapters are given, so that nothing could be omitted or could be infiltrated. That's why in the beginning, in the Mansar as well as in the Mayamata, the first chapter is the Sangraha or summary. Second is Vastu Prakar, dwelling sites. In this second chapter, the definition of Vastu is there. And they say the Bhumi, Bhavan, Yana and Sayana. The land, the building, temporary and permanent, vehicles and furnitures are known as Vastu. Third chapter is Bhumi Pariksha, examination of the site. That how you should test the site and select the site. Fourth chapter is possession of the site, Bhumi Adhigrahan. Fifth deals with the system of measurement, Hasta, Angula, etc. Sixth is the orientation, how to find out the principal direction or cardinal directions. Seventh is the diagram. The site is divided into different segment, different zone. There are 32 types of grid or diagram known as Padvinyasa. Every pada, every cell, every section has different type of energy, and according to that energy, the planning is done. So this is the seventh chapter known as orientation, Padvinyasa. In this chapter, also the marma or the vital points are located. Eighth is offering, Bali Karma. For how to boost the energy. How to boost the energy of the site, the process is described through offering in 8th chapter. 9th chapter is the village planning. Different types of villages are there according to size, according to shape, according to inhabitants, according to location. So different types of villages are described and their planning are described in chapter 9th. 10th is town planning. In town planning, different types of the town, 15 or so, are described in this Mayamata, depending upon the inhabitants, depending upon the size, depending upon the location, etc. Right from a very, very small town like a colony to a very big town like capital or Rajdhani are described. Road, orientation, and other things are described in the 10th chapter known as the towns. In the 11th chapter, number of stories and their dimensions, how the height and width are reduced on upper stories, their proportions are described in the 11th chapter, named as length and width and height of a building. 12th deals with the foundation deposits, Garbha Vinyasa. Before starting the work, after the digging, before starting the columns, at the base of column, certain materials are deposited, like gems, stones, minerals, roots, gold, mercury, etc. at the base of the column in the foundation. In northern India, this process is known as the Shilanyasa. In southern part of India, the same process is known as the Garbha Vinyasa, known as the foundation deposits. So for different types of the building, different class of the people, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, intellect, administrator, businessmen and servants, different types of temple like Shiva temple, Vishnu temple, Devi temple, The material for foundation deposit is described in 12th chapter. Chapter 13 is the Upapit, skull, pedestal. This is above the ground. The base of the building, which we call plinth, is divided into two portions known as Upapit and Peat. So the lower portion is called pedestal or skull or Upapit. So the details of Upapit, their dimension, their carving, their moldings are described in the chapter 13. For different types of the temple like Vishnu temple or Shiva temple or Brahma temple, molding varies. Different moldings are there. So molding, their height and their proportion are described for Upapit in chapter 13. Chapter 14 is the base. Base is the plinth. We can call it plinth. The portion above the ground and below the column, we call it plinth. It is called peat or base or adhisthana in the Shastras. So how this adhisthana is made, how the base is to be made, its height, its molding, its ratio and proportions are described in chapter 14, known as the base or adhisthana. Chapter 15 is the column, stambha. Dimension of pillar, cross section of the pillar, material of the pillar is described in chapter 15. Depending upon the deities, the cross-sectional area of column varies, changes. It could be square, four-sided, it could be pentagon, it could be hexagon, it could be octagon, it could be circular. So different parts of column. Column is divided into 8 parts, right from base to the entablature. Different moldings are there, and their ratios and proportion and the dimension of the column. The diameter at the base of the column to the upper portion of the column is described in this chapter. So chapter 15 deals with the pillars or column. 16 is the entablature, the upper portion of the column on which beam are placed, lupas are placed, is known as the entablature. So the details of entablature are described in chapter 16. 17th is the joinery, sandhi karma. How the wood is joined, one wood is joined with another wood. How the different members of say door or windows or columns and beams, how they should be joined. There are different types of the joint. So how they should join is described in 17th chapter. 18th chapter deals with the making of roof and completion of the building work. Shikhara, etc. are described in 18th chapter. This chapter also deals with the coating, with the different materials, with the vajra lepa, hardest coating material, and all these techniques are described in chapter 18th. 19th is the one-story building, 20th is the two-story building, 21st is the three-story building. How these one-story, two-story, three-story buildings are to be planned and what are the dimension is described in chapter 19, 20 and 21st. Chapter 22nd, 4-story to the higher stories, say 16th story, their details are given in chapter 22nd. 23rd chapter deals with the enclosures and attendant shrine. Parakota, etc. are described. Next is the gateway, Gopur. Next is the pavilion and hall. In Gopur, chapter 24th, different types of Gopuras are there. Gopur or the gateway is the entrance gate of a temple. It could be of a town, it could be of a fort, it could be of a palace. So how these Gopurs are made or designed, it is described in 24th. 25th deals with the mandapas, pavilion and halls. 26th and 27th is the house, features of the house for 4 class, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So planning is described in these chapters. 27th and 29th chapter deals with the allocation of rooms. So these 2 chapters are related with the planning. 28th is the first entry into the house, Graha Pravesha. 30th deals with the door. You have seen earlier in the chapter 2nd that land, building, vehicles and furniture are known as Vastu. So up to chapter 30th, we have seen the Bhumi and Bhavana, land and buildings. After chapter 30th, in chapter 31st, vehicles are described. Chapter 32nd, 32, furniture, bed and seats are described. 33rd chapter deals with the Linga Vidhana. 34th deals with the Peeth Vidhana, pedestal for Linga. 35th deals with the renovation of the work, Jirnodhara. And the last chapter, 36th, deals with the iconography. In this way, we will just go through a brief introduction to the Mayamata or any text. When I say any text, that means what is written in the Vastu text. So Vastu text deals with the site selection, with the soil testing, with the purification of the site, with the possession of the site, dividing the site into different segments or zone or grid, and find out the vital points and the auspicious time to start the building, and town planning, village planning, foundation deposit, 1 to 16 story buildings, the pedestal, the base, the column, entablature, roof, etc. are described. There are dimensions are described, Gopuram, gateways, and then comes the planning or the allocation of rooms. Then doors and windows, furniture, vehicles, iconography. So this is generally described in all the texts of the Vastu. And planning is a part of Vastu. It contains hardly 10% portion of the Vastu. So if somebody wants to become an expert in Vastu, then he must study all the dimension of Vastu, right from site selection up to the completion of the work, including iconography. So I am going to conclude here. In the next lecture, we shall try to see the characteristics of a person known as Vastuvid or Isthapati. What are the different characteristics of Isthapati, a person who is an expert in Vastu? So thank you very much. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev.